Welcome to the podcast. I'm Eric Salzman, joined by Richie Bennett and Kevin Doherty. How are you guys?
Good.
Going to the moon
Going to the
with
moon. Well, speaking of
SpaceX.
going to the moon,
Or
it's
Mars.
alive. It's
Or
alive.
Mars.
Or Mars, yes. It's alive. SpaceX has begun trading.
We are live, and it has just started. They call it freed to trade in
Free to
the
trade.
lots of Wall Street. And
FTT.
a lot of times, they price the stock after the close of one day, and then in the morning at the bell, it opens. This thing was so big. There were so many orders going so many different ways. They couldn't open, and obviously all the best and brightest firms are involved in this IPO.
Sure.
They couldn't free this thing to trade until just a few minutes ago, noon Eastern time. So there's a lot of orders and a lot of things going on. And as of now, it's very good news for those who are long. It's up 22%. I'm looking here. $160 off a $135 IPO start. Great things happening to SpaceX.
And the rumor has it you're along a little SpaceX, Richie.
Yeah, we discussed this before going on the air. I cannot divulge yet who the fund is because they don't sponsor us yet, but maybe they will someday, and maybe we can talk about them. But yes, I am in one of these mutual funds that actually bought at the very beginning of when they first launched, I guess, and they're tight with Elon, and Elon went to them, and they were investors in Tesla, and Elon knew that and said, "Hey, have I got a better deal for you, bro?" Like, and I think they, whatever. Like, I think they started offering private shares around 2019, 20, something like that. They got in on the ground floor. So I'm not a trillionaire, but I'm going to try to be one after today when my net asset value of my fund goes screaming high. Because I couldn't tell from the last uh, fund report where they were marking the actual position. But safe to say they probably got it at the equivalent of $10, maybe less. And now it's trading at 160. So it's a good day for the old fund holders.
So what? So what is the model for SpaceX? I mean, they don't make money yet, do they?
No, and they probably won't for a long time. I think they've had some good success with that Starlink.
Starlink.
So the Starlink is where they send up in the SpaceX rockets satellites that are, and apparently it works, that allow people mostly for people in rural areas who can't get access to the internet or phones or what have you. You can just be anywhere in the world and get access if you have a Starlink hookup. Like that Starlink satellite will know. So on paper, right? Like that's got to be worth something, right? Like because I mean, think about a lot of the world does live in cities, but there's a lot of rural areas too, and like even in the United States, there's certain places that they'd always bitch and moan about their internet service, and now it's worked. And I don't know what he charges for the Starlink, but it's a lot. The airlines use it.
Right. And then, I mean, I'm assuming he's going to get some massive government contracts. He has those
He
already.
has them. Yeah, he already has them.
Right.
And that's part of it too. So yeah, I mean, I think all the space stuff it will build, but I mean, it's a as we looked at it back in the day in any of these things, it's made for retail, and not always, but most of the time when you hear retail in a Wall Street environment, they consider that the dumb money.
Slow
So
moving deer, I think they used to
yes,
call it. Others
so
called it, not us.
and he was big in the beginning, right? Like man of the people, Elon, right? He was big about like, and you Goldman and you Morgan Stanley and you JPM who are going to underwrite this IPO, you will give 30% of this IPO to retail. And they
Okay.
said, yes, sir. Yes, yes, sir.
You're going to
And
twist our
meanwhile,
arm.
let's try to put the voting rights things in the back of the prospectus because I own them all. Like there is no voting. Like you can't say anything. You can't fire me. You can't do anything. Like if I want to give myself, $10 trillion for putting three people on Mars by like 2032, I get that. I take it out of your pocket, retail guy. But they're all happy to be in there.
So when you have an event like this, let's talk about the market a bit. Like, so you have was it $76 billion, I think was the number.
Yeah.
And then you just had Google doing 85 billion. And you
Yes.
probably, and then we've got the two big, we've got Anthropic and OpenAI that want to go. Like all this dough doesn't get manufactured out of thin air.
Right.
Or maybe it
Well,
does, but it doesn't. So where's the dough coming from?
yeah, I think the word is zero sum game, right? Like, so it's got to come from somewhere. So some people were arguing that the recent drop in tech, and maybe even Kevin's crypto, uh, it was people selling to be in line for these things, right? The IPO and for SpaceX first, obviously, but then the other guys that you mentioned are coming. So that could be it. I don't know. There's also like the theory that some of these guys may not make it. Like some of these, or they get delayed, right? So if you're not a fan of Anthropic, let's say, but you are a fan of Elon, right? You're going to pile into SpaceX because that's Elon, and I got only a few bullets, and I'm going to use them on SpaceX, and maybe in like 3 months' time when Anthropic is coming, I'll have made so much dough on SpaceX I can sell some of them and buy the others, right? So there's a lot of that speculation. Also funny too is Virgin. Richard Branson was kind of like Elon before Elon, right? He had all these ideas and airlines, and so Richard Branson has Virgin Galactic. Every one of his companies is named Virgin, right? He's got a cruise ship, he's got airlines, hotels, but that company has actually taken rich people into space for space rides for like $250,000 for 20 minutes or whatever, a little more for that. You know, it's a meme kind of thing because yesterday the ticker on Virgin Galactic is SPCE, space, right? That thing was up like 30% yesterday. And I'm like, you know what? I bet there are enough people out there that think they're buying SpaceX because of that ticker.
All the time.
Guess where SPCE is trading right now? Down 35%. So the bros were all like hitting their screens and they're like, dude, that's not the company, bro. No, SpaceX.
It's trading now. Look, it's
No, dude. SPCX is the ticker. Oh shit. Let me
do
sell.
that all the time. This happens every time.
Well, for anybody that is feeling bad because they missed investing in SpaceX on the IPO or earlier, I guarantee you that nobody feels worse than Sam Bankman-Fried. You remember our old buddy who went to prison. He was the head of the FTX exchange and got caught using customer funds on FTX for his own speculating purposes in the markets, which went wrong. Clients asked for their money back. He didn't have it. Well, a couple of things he did have on the FTX balance sheet at the time, which now is almost 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago. He owned some SpaceX, not a lot, but at the IPO price was worth about $2.8 billion. And so now it'd be about $3.5 billion. But the big thing on FTX's balance sheet, and you remember it was a solvency problem, but he argued it was a liquidity problem. We would have been fine over time. FTX also owned 8% of Anthropic. He was one of the early investors in Anthropic.
These guys, every time, it goes always. It's like, dude, how much money are you trying to grab? Like, can't you just stay the line? Like, you aren't going to make enough just being legit. You gotta cross the line. You gotta.
Well, he invested $500 million in Anthropic.
I didn't know it was that much.
500 million?
500 million for 8% of Anthropic, which at current estimates is worth $80 billion. So
that's why he's been
in prison.
Yeah, but that's why he's been sending messages to Trump.
Yeah.
He wants to get out. He's like, he probably included
that money.
He probably included. Look, I'm really bad, dude. I'm in prison. Don't you think I'm in real prison for missing out on that?
Where did it go? In other words, is it still
Bankrupt.
there it's in the
Nope.
bankruptcy?
The bankruptcy administrators sold it, and they sold it pretty early. That some of the buyers that were disclosed were jump trading.
Oh,
Um,
God.
and some of I think ADIA, or one of the Abu Dhabi
Yeah.
sovereign wealth funds, and there's some other buyers that were not disclosed. But those people are sitting on a fortune because it was only, I think that the value they got for it was a couple $1 billion. So
Right.
they're sitting on all those Anthropic gains.
Wow.
Jane Street probably needs more money, so they probably
Yeah.
involved it
Yeah, they
too.
probably.
Goldman probably got a slice of it somehow.
Yeah. They were like, look, that kid's kind of smart. I mean, he's a crook, but he's pretty smart. Like, let's grab his stuff
I
in
mean,
the
we didn't know who
bankruptcy court.
Anthropic was until I didn't know who they were until about a year
Yeah.
ago. And I think the only reason I was looking into the whole hyperscalers and all these deals that were getting, and I think that was when Microsoft, I think, got into a deal with them, and it was about 10, $15 billion and it was part of that building data centers and things like that. And I had no idea who they were until I realized, oh, they're the guys who make Claude. And people were just starting to use Claude that I knew anyway. And within 6 months, they became the leader, which will probably get to our next topic, which Richie, you've been all over this right from the beginning. And what a very good article in the Wall Street Journal today, as soon as I get my iPad up, and it's called, not now, wants me to set up the AI price war is here, piling pressure on OpenAI and Anthropic. Startup tech giants are mixing and matching AI models to avoid the premium prices charged by industry leaders. Now, we talked about this. I remember I told you I have a buddy who, he's a really good programmer and he's semi-retired, and he's basically creating a platform or a consulting where I can come in and I guarantee you 95% of the things you use, it's open source. It's free or it's severely discounted. So you only have to use the high-end stuff and pay for those tokens on maybe 5% of what you do, maybe even less. And that's what's going on now. So all of a sudden, there's a price, I think someone said a race to the bottom. And that could be maybe Sam Bankman-Fried's Anthropic stake won't be worth 80 billion by the time this is over.
Yeah, I think, it starts with the pissing match between Altman and Anthropic, right? And Altman and Elon. Altman fights a lot of people, apparently. But so it seems to me, because Anthropic filed first, confidentially filed first for an IPO, they're going to beat OpenAI to the punch on the IPO world. So it sounds like Altman wants to rub it in Anthropic's face, even though they got beat at OpenAI. So he comes out and says, the tokens at which we sell to our clients that power the AI, we think we can provide more value to our clients with them having to spend less. So now Anthropic is in the middle of this, probably doing roadshow soon on, hey, we're great. We're the answer to AI and we're great. And then now the questions are going to come dude, that guy, your rival, he just cut his prices. Are you going to have to cut your prices?
Yeah.
And that's an uncomfortable conversation, right? Because now the revenue that they
and those Chinese fellows over there,
they're still going, I think.
Yeah, they're still going, and they charge 25% of what you charge. Yeah,
and I've talked to some tech fund managers who already thought that that one guy in particular told me he wouldn't be surprised if OpenAI does not do their IPO because they have to open the books in that process and show their financials. And he suspects their financials are much, much weaker than Anthropic's, for example. So this is going to be fun to watch.
So, and that's the old thing, right? So if it is true that what you just said, Kevin, which I would bet money on that. And then he pulls out. Right now, he doesn't have as much game to play because he's losing an expected funding raise through this IPO. He might have to go away. So Anthropic might be sitting there going, yeah, he's going to cut costs, but he might not be with us much longer unless he gets some luck. So back in the day, right, when whatever industry it was, there'd be a great product that would come out in Industry X, that was lower priced than the established guys had for years and years and years. And somebody in the board of that company that's been established for years and years and years says, buy those MFs right now and throw that thing away. Like, just like kaboom, we'll like fold some of the employees in. Yeah, the shareholders get paid, but we need them
100-year
out
light
of there.
bulb, right? Do you remember they?
Yeah.
He used to always tell you those stories, if they were true or not. Like they put that's all these things are in a vault somewhere. Like, the light bulb that never goes out or something like that. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I was reading this article and I was thinking about it. We've been talking about it, and a little history is it reminds me of, if you ever read it's a great book called Titan, and it's Ron Chernow, and it's about John D. Rockefeller and then Junior, and essentially he talks about when oil was first discovered in Western Pennsylvania. It was the Wild West, and back then there were no cars. They were making kerosene out of it. That was the main use of oil. And John D. was I think he was a bookkeeper for a trading firm in Cleveland, and he went to the oil patch and he saw, like, someone strikes oil and the price goes wherever it is. It's a nice high value price. But then 25 other guys jump in and start just producing, and the price just drops to zero. And he's like, no, I don't want to be in that part of the business. I want to be in the refining business. And then gradually he did what he did. But it's kind of a story as old as the hills, right? I mean, if you do something and then there's really no, as I think, Kevin, you said, a moat to basically stop others from doing it, and there clearly isn't with regards to these large language models, with regards to what 95% of the usage is, then, I mean, you are running into a similar situation that we've seen over and over again, where these guys could price themselves in a race to the bottom. And, I don't know where that ends, but.
And keep in mind all the interconnectivity of all these data centers and all these guys putting money in, and all this thing's supposed to happen. It's the greatest thing ever. It's revolutionizing. And we've said it before, right? It's like, yeah, it's gonna be around. You just can't tell me who's going to run it.
Right.
It could be somebody, not even like we always talk about this too, like this example, like Fox Network, Rupert Murdoch had MySpace. He had it. Like, that was it. And this kid from Harvard, freshman at Harvard, kind of just ran over that thing and called it Facebook. And, and Fox had this. It wasn't like me sitting around like, oh, dude, I have this thing where everybody can communicate. So they had the money. They could have marketed that thing. They had it. But again, yes, it worked. Somebody else took it over because people were sleeping at the wheel or whatever. But yeah, so like, you don't want, it was a cartoon, I think, a long time ago. And it was like something about Buffett, who loved to use the moat word, right? The moat. So you have the castle, and then you have the moat, right? And the guys are all standing on one side of the moat, and they're like looking. And then you have another castle with like one of those people movers just moving right over the moat into the castle, and everybody's like lined up and like going through. So you don't want to have one of those people movers in your business if you're trying to make real dough. And who knows, but it sounds like there could be people movers.
Yeah, a lot of the deals. Remember we had that chart up. I wish we had it again. Again, the chart with it looked like a gigantic bowl of spaghetti, and you had like NVIDIA.
Everything's interconnected.
So you have NVIDIA and you have ADM, and you have all these chip makers that have all these forward deals. Right? It's not like they did a $50 billion deal. It's not like all the chips are bought and paid for. It's deals that are going to be done in the future, certainly large parts of them. So what happens if all of a sudden one of these guys can't pay and says, like, we only need a quarter of these things or 10% of these things, I'll see you in court. But, I mean, like what we've said, there's so many moving parts to this, and it's all interconnected. What happens if you have all these data centers out there that these guys are paying for? All that, they're paying for the computing power in the data centers. I think, Kevin, you said one time, I guess they could mine for Bitcoin or something like that. If there's no use for
but not to that scale, not to the scale of what they're building to host the AI.
Yeah. So, again,
Think about this. Zuckerberg at Meta set up this school. Like it's a school for like basically like blue collar welders, stuff like that. Like he's paying for it. Like if you want to join, come on along. We need people who are in the trades that can build stuff because we're all in on the data centers. And another good thing about these data centers, right? Because they have problems, right? There's public outcry, right? We touched on this many times. I saw in Louisiana, in one of these communities, all the teachers in this one town got a $50,000 bonus for because the town allowed a data center to move in. In most cases, it was more than they make in a year. So, okay, you don't want the data center? Would you like 50 grand? Would that do good by you? Yeah, give me the 50 grand. Okay, we're going to build this thing.
Well, it's better than what Elon did on SpaceX. They just went into like Brownsville, Texas, and took over kicked everybody out.
Unless you work there.
Yes.
Even the cooks in the kitchen are millionaires today.
I think there's a bar in space. Is it called Space City now or something? And you're only allowed to go if you work for SpaceX.
Right. So the bartender's making $1 million today.
Wow.
Because everybody got stock. Everybody.
Right.
You couldn't even not take it. You had, that's probably why they paid you probably $5 an hour. But
what's interesting. So let's say what Meta is doing with artificial intelligence, or what Google's doing with in other words, if you're not a standalone, you're one of these companies that you do a lot of things, but one of them is going to dovetail very nicely with what you're doing with AI. You're probably going to be fine, right? In fact, they might end up being the big winner. Like Google might be the big winner, right? Because they have so many different things going on, and they can meld this in with what they do versus just a straight out large language model. That's what OpenAI does. That's what Anthropic does, and they don't do anything else that works.
Right.
So maybe that's another play that those guys are going to be the winners.
Apple, right, had their big the final meeting. Tim Cook had his final big announcement day the other day, and the market didn't like it. So they were expecting something to do with AI. They keep saying they're behind in AI, and the rumor was they were going to make a stronger Siri, right? Their voice, and it kind of, he made this major announcement, whatever, and people were pissed because I guess yes, the capabilities are there, but they're only good for the last 3 phones. They only work in the last 3 iPhones they've made, right? But where are they going? They're going nowhere. They're going to be around. So they could be the biggest winner of AI, and they're the ones everybody talks about how they're way behind.
Sure. All they have to do is buy Anthropic or OpenAI.
Yeah, exactly. They can do whatever they want.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, just back to the stock thing. I mean, this is because you remember these guys are already in the debt markets, are already sucking up a lot of financing just from all their hyperscaler projects they want to do. And I think by the end of the year, they said it's going to be $1 trillion, either public debt or private debt. But these guys are obviously this money doesn't come out of thin air. And now you've got these huge pulls from SpaceX, and now all these other guys are coming with the IPOs or the secondaries like Google or Alphabet. I can't. It's not hard to imagine that at least 2 or 3 of the other guys are going to have to do a secondary offering. So where's all the dough come from?
Right. And I guess, if we still have a bull market in equities, everything's great. I was a little surprised. I guess they couldn't, but it was on Tuesday, right? Friday was horrible. Last Friday was horrible in the markets. Monday came back a little, and then Tuesday was bad.
Right.
And I was like, I wonder if Wednesday comes, because we've been around us 3 a while. Every time there's IPOs coming and there's a shake in the market, more often than not, the IPO gets canceled, right? Market conditions, no bueno, right? And I'm like, they can't do that with this thing today.
Right.
They can't. They just can't. They have the show must go on, right? It's got to. Because if they cancel, the whole world, like, so I'm sure Goldman and Morgan Stanley and those guys were like pumping the phones, like, yeah, make sure you're oversold and no bullshit. Like, make sure you have a big enough book of business in case something goes bad. People are still going to buy, and we can still do this thing. But it was kind of like,
Guys were all left.
yeah, everybody, right? Because if that thing got canceled, forget it. Like,
Well, and to play let's look at the bullish argument coming out of this. The SpaceX IPO was a big success, assuming that people had pulled liquidity out of other things to participate in the IPO. Then today they're either getting their cash back because they were cut back on what they were allocated, or whatever they were allocated, they're sitting on big gains. They're sitting on, at the moment, 23% gains.
yeah,
And so they can recycle that into other
Right.
stuff. And so that's why you get these manias, where there's just, it's pro-cyclical. This one's a success. And so we're going to the next one. You win $500 at blackjack and you head to the craps table and you're like, here we go. Fun keeps going.
Yeah.
So crypto's up today. Tesla was down today, which was interesting. Because one would assume that if it is these Elon fanboys that were selling their Tesla to participate in SpaceX, well, maybe they're going to recycle some back into Tesla. Who knows? But yeah, today's a good day.
Yeah, no, and it's higher since we've started this call, right? It was up like $20 when we started, and now it's up $30.
That's because the bots are monitoring our call, and so they're front running our discussions.
All right. Well, let's talk about something that I know is near and dear to two of the three of our hearts. The New York Knickerbockers could win it all Saturday night in
So
San Antonio. Now,
my significant other doesn't watch sports, really, ever. And she was watching the other night.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing for you?
I think it's good.
You're a big fan. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
it's
got your
fine.
own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was watching, and kind of from the kitchen, island, and I'm sitting on the couch watching. And she might have screamed louder than I did when OG tipped that ball in at the end. And I turned around and I said, if they win one more game, aren't you glad that you watched this live? Because they'll talk about that shot for like 100 years. I said, and even without them winning so far, the whole thing, they've already, I get the New York Post, and it's already in the pantheon of great New York sports plays of all time, right? Like, of all time.
yeah.
I think Messier's goal, one of those Messier's goals, is in there. Like Bobby Thompson shot heard around the world, most famous home run in baseball history.
Well, I have to say I'm a casual basketball fan. I'm a nut job with hockey, baseball, football. My team has a bad night, it screws up my whole next day. The Knicks, I just like if they're doing well, and I have all my friends are Knicks fans, so I'm rooting for them, and then I jump right on the bandwagon when something's going good, and when it's not going good, I just turn it off and I go on. So the other night when they're getting killed, I was like, oh, screw this, I'm gonna watch something else. I looked at my phone and they were down by like 15 in the third quarter. I'm like, that's doable, and so I started watching on my phone, and I mean that was something else. But then, and I think this is really because I literally had to tell people in my family on when they played on Wednesday night, right? They kept complaining about the refs, and I was like, forget the refs, okay? Those guys have just hit 11 out of the last 16 3-point attempts, and our guys can't hit shit. That's why they're losing. But they came back. But I think the refs got New York so fired up the last few games that did you see what happened when Wemby someone threw an egg and hit Wemby in the back of the head on the way into the
on the way out. Yeah, you loser. Here. Yeah.
The only thing worse than that when New York gets embarrassed, do you remember I think it was the 77 or 78 World Series, and this was the ladies and gentlemen, the Bronx is burning, and they already had the fires going on in the Bronx. And then you remember the fan ran out of the stands and just barreled, just attacked the third base umpire. And that was like that was neat. Well, now we're back. Now we're throwing eggs at the players, and apparently Spurs fans were beat up on the street. Like,
Yes, yes.
so who's
Well,
gonna win? Who do we got?
So the other key thing is I saw the ratings, the NBA television ratings are ridiculous in this tournament,
Right.
especially in this series. I think it's the biggest. Wednesday night's game was the biggest ratings since 2003 or something.
Hmm.
So, and this is a series where two ball bounces, the Spurs would be up 3-1.
Right.
And now the Knicks are up 3-1, right? Two. The Knicks have won 2 games by 1 point. So I think big ratings is big money.
Mm.
The Knicks and the Spurs play Saturday night. Wouldn't it be fascinating if the Knicks lost and then came back to New York and won the game in New York? I think that's where we're going.
Right.
I think the Spurs are going to figure it out. Now, the point spread is 5.5, which seems like a lot, but I don't think it is. I think the Spurs are going to cover Saturday night, and then they're going to come back to New York, and then we'll have another discussion about that. But I think I like the Spurs on Saturday. I don't think it's all over. I mean, unless they're young, right? They're young players. They made bonehead errors. Like that last shot, right? I mean, I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know if they told them to do this. But if you're down by 1, right, and the guy wants to shoot the ball from 28 feet, you let him.
Right.
Because they're down by 1. They should be able to take an easier shot than a 28-footer, right? And still win the game. If you're down by 3, I mean, if you're up by 3 and up by 1, if you're up by 3, yeah, okay. But Wemby, the 7'4" guy, is like guarding Brunson 28 feet from the basket.
Right.
Like, okay, he might make it. Maybe you scared him. It clearly did something, right? Because he missed. But then that whole middle is open, right? Like if I guarantee you, if Wemby was down below the basket when Brunson took that shot, there was no way OG was doing that, right? Like he would have gone over Wemby's back, probably. So I don't know if that was their game plan, like try to, but I didn't understand that. Like the 7'4" guy should be under the basket if you're up by 1 trying to guard or lead.
All right. So Spurs given 5.5.
Is-
That's the call for Saturday
That's
night's
all
game.
Saturday night.
So I'm guessing you don't have a World Cup soccer pick.
No, I think that'll be next week.
Okay.
I think I will play the draw tonight in the U.S. match.
You always play the draw.
I love the draw, especially in the early rounds.
Yeah.
So I think the draw is 2.5 to 1, which is pretty good, and that covers because that covers regulation, right? So they don't go into OT in the early rounds.
No.
So yeah, I could see them playing like a little defensive, the U.S. And I think the coach is pretty good. Like he's had success in Europe for the U.S. So I think he just wants to keep it. He doesn't want to blow it. And I like that the captain is Tim Ream, who's like 38 now. He played for Fulham in the Premier League, which is awesome. You know, he's from like St. Louis, and it's great to see like a guy get to play on the European stage. And then now he plays for the Charlotte MLS team, but he should be a good leader for the team. I'm pulling for him, but I think they're going to play it tight tonight. So I'm going.
So go USA, but don't go too much.
Right, just go enough.
And I guess we got to say
You're betting on the kissing the sister.
As part of our investment strategy, we have to go with the Spurs side.
Right. We lose our investment strategy, but as you said earlier, you know, if we lose, there's a chance that the Knicks could be the champion. So that's also a good thing. Not in their wallet.
All right.
See you after
Good
50.
stuff.
Well,
We'll
what
see you
about all
next
these?
week.
Hang on, all these SpaceX employees? They're down in Austin, right?
Yeah, it's
Isn't
not
that where
far from
space?
San Antonio.
No,
Exactly. I wonder if that money is gonna
push
push
the
the
line.
spread.
It
Yeah,
could. It
exactly.
could.
Wait till the end of today.
Yeah.
You could be getting 7.5. Give it 7. All right. Okay, guys. Good stuff.
All right.
Thanks.